The Eagles have crushed it in the draft over the last several years, and although they're fresh off a Super Bowl win, Howie Roseman is not satisfied. He has a bunch of picks to play with, and he's trying to build a dynasty, and today we get some good insight into where the Eagles are probably going in round one. But the question is it the right decision? We'll talk about what the experts are saying and a whole bunch more. But welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Do me a favor, like this video, go down below, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate everybody staying tapped in for the offseason. And man, doesn't it feel good to be Super Bowl champions? Well, I'll tell you who doesn't feel good. We'll start it off with one of our rival head coaches, Brian Daboll. Here's an Eagles fan just completely pissing him off.
Go Birds!
Brian Daboll gets hit with a go Birds. I mean, you just got to give it up to Eagle fans, man. The best in the world. Speaking of the Giants, though, they are scheduled to have a visit for Abdul. He had breakfast with Brian Daboll at State College, PA this weekend. I'll tell you what, man, really hoping that Abdul does not land with the New York Giants. I hope they get a quarterback. Hope Carter goes at number 2 because honestly, this guy's going to be a wrecker, man. And I don't want to see him in the division. We've had to deal with Micah Parsons, even though the Cowboys are irrelevant. Let's keep Abdul away from the New York Giants. Plus, he's a lifelong Eagles fan. You think he really wants to put on that ugly blue? No, he does not. Speaking of the defensive line, though, what do you guys think about this trade? This is a mock trade proposed by NFL Trade Rumors. Eagles get a 6th-round pick in 26 in exchange for Bryce Huff. Would you do this deal? A lot of people are quick to say yes, but honestly, what is a 6th-round pick doing for the Eagles that already have a plethora of trade capital and draft capital and things like that? Like, really, what is a 6th-round pick going to do? I'm not saying that Bryce Huff is going to revive his career. I'm not saying he's worth the contract. And if you can get off the money, sure, I get it. I understand it. But the likelihood of him getting better in year 2 under Vic Fangio and in a system where, I'm not going to say the pressure's off, but now you've won the Super Bowl. You have all these talented young guys. The lights are not going to be on Bryce Huff all the time. The bright lights are not going to be projected on him. And he did start to build up some momentum at the end of the season until he got injured for a second time. So, I mean, he might get a little bit better. He might. Would you get rid of him for a 6th-round pick? I think it all depends on the contract situation, but give me your thoughts down below. All right, man, let's jump into the NFL draft stuff. Shout out to Dave Zangaro. He compiled, once again, all of the experts' opinions in terms of where the Eagles are going to go in round number 1. I want to preface this with 2 quick things. Number 1, I still don't think it's likely that Howie stays at 32. I could see him trading up, using all of these draft picks that they have the next 2 years to get an impact player, or I could also see him trading back, getting more picks, and just continuing to build that way. They have a couple needs, but drafting at the end of the 1st round is completely different than being like top 10, top 15. Your needs, your desires, like your whole strategy changes, and Howie's just not likely to stay at 32, in my opinion. But let's say he does. The other thing I want to say is you got to take everything into consideration. Where have the Eagles gone historically? What is their philosophy? It is starting up front, building in the trenches. And I know people are going to go back to last year. Last year was different. You were coming off the biggest collapse in NFL history, and you needed an impact player on the defense. You absolutely needed one. And Howie sat where they were, and Quinyon fell into his lap. Right? Then he traded up, got DeJean. It was a masterclass, but I think we're kind of, reverting back to the normal strategy of Howie Roseman. And that's, all right, if the impact player's not there, I'm not going to force it, right? Let me go with my gut, what usually works for this team. And also right now, it's kind of a need as well. So where are the Eagles going in round 1 if they stay at 32 or if they trade up? I think they're most likely going in the trenches, whether that's offensive line or defensive line. There's 2 guys you got to keep your eyes on, which we'll get to here in a few minutes. But let's start it off with Mason Cameron of PFF. He has the Eagles trading up and taking Donovan Ezeraku. And through my draft research so far, this is one of the favorite guys on my list. I like Donovan Ezeraku not only because he's from South Jersey, but he is absolutely explosive. He plays with a lot of aggression. And honestly, I mean, the production's there, right? The numbers jump off the sheet. He had 16.5 sacks last year. He had 80 tackles. But he just feels like a guy that has the intangibles. He's really good at shedding blocks. He's a finesse player, and he just finds ways to get to the quarterback that are, not always traditional. Like, he just has a real good eye for the game. With his type of play and his attitude, I think it would just fit Philadelphia perfectly. And he's probably a lifelong Eagles fan as well. So I really like Donovan Ezeraku, but I do agree with Mason Cameron. The Eagles would have to trade up to get Ezeraku. I don't think he will be there at the end of the first round. Let me know what you think about him down below. As Dave says here, the Boston College standout charted well in both pass rush win rate and run stop rate, making him an ideal option to become the next great edge rusher to wear Kelly green. The next guy is Malachi Starks, and we already talked about him. Malachi Starks is here at 32, according to Nick Baumgardner of The Athletic. I disagree. I think Malachi Starks will have to be a guy you trade up to get. I don't see him getting past Detroit. And I think maybe in that like 25, 26 range, if you were to trade up and get him, that's how I could see that playing out. If Vic Fangio gives Howie Roseman, the intel and says, hey, this is a perfect fit for our defense, he can have the rookie impact that Quinyon and Cooper had. And, we talked about how smart he is, high IQ, explosive. He's a versatile weapon. You can play him probably at corner if you need to. I like Malachi Starks. I think he has the potential to have one of the biggest impacts in this draft. He's a really good tackler, which Vic Fangio loves. Good run defender, good in man coverage, zone coverage. He can do everything. Great size, athleticism. I really like his game. But as Dave Zangaro says here, the Eagles have never taken a safety in the first round. Okay, we got it out of the way. Doesn't mean the Eagles won't take a safety. Exactly, just like last year. Now, again, you look at the safety position, definitely one of need right now. I think it's higher on the priority list, but Howie Roseman did warn us to be patient, relax. The offseason takes a while, and there's a lot more options out there, and that's what he's been saying the whole time. Lance Zierlein of NFL.com has the Eagles trading out of 32. I think that's realistic. Tom Fornelli has the Eagles taking a wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. I don't think there's any world in which they take a wide receiver at 32. Let me know if you disagree. So I'm not even going to look at that. But we get to the final two guys here. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to start keeping your eyes peeled for these two players. One is Josh Conerly Jr. That's who Nate Tice and Charles McDonald of Yahoo has the Eagles taken. We talked about him last week. But when I think about Josh Conerly and the more I watch him, he just feels like a guy who's going to grade out as an Eagle for the next 10 to 15 years. He feels like another Lane Johnson. Now, I'm not trying to compare him, but he has the huge upper body strength. Actually, they're almost the exact same. I think he's 6'6", 311 pounds, and he's got to work on some technique things, here early in his career. But if they can just put a little more weight on him and fix a few technique things, which obviously you have the master professor in Jeff Stoutland, Josh Conerly Jr. is a guy who can learn and grow over these next couple years and then take over for Lane Johnson when he's ready to go. Now, they're also saying, like I said before, that Josh Conerly can project to move into guard, and if you don't want to stash him for the next 3 years while Lane Johnson, who just signed a 1-year extension, is going to be here for, right? And let's be honest, like Lane could also get hurt too. He's now in his mid-30s. You never know. But I think Josh Conerly Jr. would be a great pick because he can slide into guard and give more competition to Tyler Steen and Kenyon Green. I mean, ask yourself right now, right? Mekhi Becton was an amazing story, but if you look at the Eagles guard situation right now, are you 100% confident in Tyler Steen and Kenyon Green? I think the answer is no, and I think Josh Conerly can be another Landon Dickerson, another Cam Jurgens, where you bring him in, you know what their future is going to be, but you move them inside and you have them play another position. They're versatile. He says a pick like this definitely follows the logic. Johnson is very open to training his eventual replacement, which the Eagles have done with others in the past. This wouldn't be a very popular pick, but Conerly has the traits that makes you think he can be a good right guard in the short term and a long-term replacement for Lane Johnson. So, like he said, and as it has always been, it's not going to be a popular pick. People aren't going to go, oh, rah, rah for Josh Conerly. But the Eagles are at the end of the first round. They have to invest in the future, and they're going to need help in the trenches eventually, whether it's here or on the defensive line. And it just feels like a very Howie Roseman pick. So keep your eyes on Josh Conerly. A lot of the experts are talking offensive line. Now, the other guy who we haven't really talked much about is Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. And we all know the history of North Dakota State, cough, cough, Carson Wentz. But Gray Zabel is an absolute freak in nature. When you look at this guy, He plays every position on the offensive line, or has, other than center. He has a ton of experience, and I mean, he's got a great range of motion as well. He has solid play strength. He seals blocks well. He's good at pulling over to the other side of the line. And I mean, he's a very good player. He's a freak of nature, and he gets his hands dirty. And I think going to the school that he went to, and kind of being overlooked a bit, and staying there this year so he could play with his brother, he just has attributes that I think Philly would love. And as Dave Zangaro says here, he played every position on the line. Like we said, he seems like most evaluators see him as a guard in the NFL, but doesn't mean that he can't be a tackle or be able to fill in a pinch. He could be a plug-and-play starting guard for the Eagles. That would mean immediate competition at the right guard spot. Like I said, you lost Mekhi Becton. You didn't want to, but you had to. And Gray Zabel might be a guy that can slide right in and be an impact player. And I think the Eagles are going to go in the trenches. I think all of this is kind of foreshadowing that. And whether it's, a D tackle, an edge, or an offensive lineman, I think it's the right decision, the right way to go. And I'm not going to be mad if they do it. And even though it won't be the sexy pick, it'll be the right one. So those are my thoughts. Give me all of yours down below in the comment section. How do you feel about the Eagles draft? What do you want them to do in the first round? Appreciate everybody for tapping in. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.